My name is Dennis Gill with the Americans in Wartime Experience. Today's date is 25 February 2022, and I have the pleasure of interviewing Captain Andrew Katz.
Yes,
Welcome,
sir.
sir. Appreciate you sitting down and talking to us. If you could just state for us your full name, your rank, your branch of service.
My name is Andrew Philip Katz. Currently an infantry captain in the United States Army.
Where were you born? Where'd you grow up?
I was born here in Washington, D.C.,
Okay.
and I grew up in Baltimore, Maryland.
Where do you call home?
Baltimore.
Baltimore. Okay. Tell us a little bit about your education, high school, college, that kind of thing.
Went to high school in Baltimore. Enjoyed playing soccer, baseball, tennis, and running. Went off to the United States Military Academy, where I was a member of the United States Military Academy parachute team. I was a member of Company E2, and I was the president of the class of 2017.
Okay.
There found my passion for working with people, working with organizations of different sizes, and that's what led me to branch infantry. And following West Point, went down to Fort Benning, Georgia, completed the basic officer leader course, Ranger School, and Airborne School, before reporting to my first duty station at Fort Stewart, Georgia.
Do you have any combat deployments or forward locations?
I do not, no. I completed one NTC rotation, Fort Irwin, California, and with 3rd ID before PCSing here to the Old Guard.
Okay, great. And why did you want to do this? What drew you to this?
The challenge and the opportunity. I was a part of a unit that was slated to deploy. We trained up, and unfortunately the deployment was canceled. That opened up a window of opportunity to apply to the Old Guard, to try something new and something different, and that is to be a representation of the Army and of the American people to our nation and the world. So I applied to the Old Guard from Fort Stewart, and then once I arrived here, I applied to become the commander of the Tomb Guard platoon down in Arlington National Cemetery.
What's the selection process to become a member of the Old Guard?
The application process looks at your military history, your schooling, your performance, your evaluations. The Old Guard is looking for team players. They're looking for leaders who are able to adapt to different situations and able to stay calm and make decisions under pressure.
How long have you been here?
I've been in the Old Guard for just shy of 2 years.
Okay. So we're primarily here to talk about the flower ceremony that coincided with the 100th anniversary of the tomb. What were your duties and responsibilities during that period of time?
As the commander of the Guard, I was the representation of the Tomb Guard platoon,
Okay.
which operates underneath the Old Guard, but also with leadership from Arlington National Cemetery, as well as the Military District of Washington, the Old Guard's parent organization. All those three organizations had an instrumental role in planning and executing this one-of-a-kind, never-before-seen ceremony. And it went incredibly well, and it was just an honor to be kind of at the intersection of those three organizations,
Right.
Enabling service members from every branch to take part, and visitors in the cemetery from every state and from many countries to be here for those 2 days on the 9th and 10th of November to take part in that ceremony.
What kind of special preparations or training or anything that needed to happen for that above and beyond what you guys normally do every day?
The biggest change was the guard sequence. So the black mat was moved one evening from the west side of the tomb itself to the east side. And it's rare when that black mat moves. It's standard location where most know it to be, in between the American people, the visitors on the steps who come and observe the guard changes and observe flower laying ceremonies and wreath laying ceremonies. When that mat moves, someone is about to be moved. That means something very serious is happening. Restoration efforts in the cemetery be a big one. The cemetery's done an incredible job restoring and maintaining the facility, the amphitheater, the memorial display room, and the tomb itself. And we've had to move the mat on those occasions. And then for this ceremony, we moved the mat to the east side of the tomb again. We had to relearn a sequence that really had not been used in nearly 20 years. It was the last time we found out that we were guarding from the east. So slightly different facing movements, a slightly different sequence. The changing of the guard was very different. We adapted to enable more visitors to take part in the ceremony. So the changing of the guard itself was abbreviated in an effort to allow more people to participate, which was the goal. The tomb was guarded continuously throughout the ceremony, as it has been for nearly 100 years. But in changing our sequence, we allowed more people than ever before to be a part of that eternal mission.
I think you kind of answered my question. The next question, I assume that mat very, very rarely gets moved. How often would you say that's ever been moved?
Very rarely. So the mat is replaced twice a year, right before Veterans Day and right before Memorial Day, as it does endure wear and tear from the continuous guard posting and the changing of the guard. When it's moved, it is a big deal, and you can see when it's moved the outline of the mat is there in the stone, and it almost resembles the history that's transpired over the past 100 years since the World War I unknown was laid to rest. The history of the guard, the first guard in 1925, the first military guard in 1926, the development of the role of the guard, the sequence of the guard, the emergence of the changing of the guard. Those sequences of the Tomb Guard's history are represented by that outline that was left, and it was visible. And we're thankful it was, because a lot of visitors did ask. We could see that that's where the mat really goes. And it makes you think about everything that's transpired, the major wars, the conflicts, everything that's transpired since World War I.
Tell me, why is it important that we continue this mission?
This mission, in addition to protecting the eternal resting place of these American heroes, there's 3 Medal of Honor recipients laid to rest on the plaza, and it's incredibly important that we enable them to rest peacefully. We are also representing them to the American people in the same way that we represent the American people to the unknowns. And that's where the attention to detail, the precision with uniforms, rifle manual, and execution comes into play. But what you can't see at the tomb is that reverence and what it does when people are present, when people are observing the changing of the guard. There is a unification that is almost taken for granted in today's world. At this flower ceremony, everyone that came, they knew there's no race, there's no gender, there's no background of any kind for these American soldiers. They are just truly unidentified American soldiers, and that's what's most important. And that level of reverence was an incredible unifier. There was a sense of calm that didn't even need to be explained during the flower ceremony, whereas ordinarily during the changing of the guard, the individual who is changing the guard requests silence and respect during the ceremony. The words were not even needed, because there was that level of awareness and that aura over the plaza, and it led to an incredibly successful event.
Because of the changes that you mentioned earlier, you got a different view of the public, right? Your interaction with the public was different. You could face to face, I guess, sometimes. What was that like? But it is different.
Intimidating, certainly, but also an incredible honor. To stand out there before the unknowns is an honor in and of itself, but to stand out there and to help and facilitate this experience for young kids. I remember coming to the tomb when I was very, very young with my parents, and I remember not necessarily understanding everything that was going on, but the image was in my head forever, and that remained with me until the day I first put on the uniform. I genuinely hope that there are kids who are here for the ceremony who have that same experience, and on the other end of the spectrum, veterans, being able to come back to Washington, D.C., to Arlington, to participate, to see the well of emotion was difficult. Tomb guards, we maintain our ceremonial composure to help maintain that atmosphere of silence and respect on the plaza. That was an added challenge. Seeing the emotion in previous generations, the generations whose shoulders that we stand on, taking a knee, kneeling, praying in reverence to the unknown soldiers, saluting, standing at attention. It was inspiring, and it was a very overt reminder of why we do what we do.
What did you observe in terms of the public's demeanor? You just mentioned some of it, a lot of respect.
Incredible, inspiring, honestly. An amazing reminder of what this nation stands for and what this nation's role is, and what we're capable of as a nation. When everyone comes together for a common goal, we can put on an event that is both memorable and visible to the world as a symbol of unity, as a symbol of strength, and that the demeanor was fantastic. Everyone was aware, everyone understood where they were standing, and contrary to some days, we do have less well-behaved visitors in the cemetery, and on occasion we are trained to respond to visitors who are disrupting that atmosphere. Never once did there need to be an audible reminder. And in talking to many of the individuals as they came off the plaza after they had laid their flower, you could just tell they had that calm voice, and they knew where they were, and they were thankful for the opportunity.
So different than an ordinary day.
Slightly different. Ordinary, the visitors are amazing. I mean, people know when you're standing at the heartbeat of Arlington National Cemetery, but the amount of people who came through, and that sheer fact alone, that there was really no one, there was no outlier over the course of 48 hours who decided to tarnish this beautiful event, is a testament to the mission of the flower ceremony.
How about the emotion that's the public? Was there a difference? Did you sense there was a difference in some of the emotion that they showed?
Absolutely. There were visitors of all kinds, from all places, of all ages, as there always are. But the young school group that was there in uniform, in unison, placing their right hand over their heart, reciting the Pledge of Allegiance. It was a special day. It was definitely a special 2 days. It was just a collective effort.
Are there any other groups that stood out? Did people come in groups? Did they come by themselves? Was it kind of a mixture of both?
Mixture of both. Many groups of friends or families would come. I think one of my favorite memories was checking in with the line, where the point at which people entered onto the plaza, and looking down the line. Just in my view, I could see senior Army officials, elected politicians, elementary school groups, veteran organizations, and a host of visitors from all over in one shot. And there was no rank, there was no It didn't matter who you were, what you did, where you were from. Everyone was standing there in line with their flower in hand, waiting to do, patiently waiting, calmly waiting to do the same thing. And that was to pay respects to this service member who was buried over 100 years ago now. And we're still demonstrating that level of honor and respect. And it was incredible to see.
Did you witness the Coronation Honor Guard?
I did.
What can you tell us about that?
An amazing way to start the ceremony. Their ancestor, Chief Plentycoo, was invited by President Harding in 1921 to be on the plaza, to be present, to represent the coronation at the interment of the World War I unknown. So for his descendants to be there, and not only to be there, but to bring their tradition, to bring and to honor Chief Plentycoo as well, was amazing. They traveled from a great distance away, and they recited a prayer that Chief Plentycoo himself recited on November 11th, 1921. So closing that century of tradition, or continuing really that century of tradition, it was an amazing way to start the ceremony.
Kind of the way it started, and 100 years later,
Absolutely.
we're still doing it.
Absolutely.
Did what you observed affect in any way how you conducted yourself out there? Did you walk? What are your duties specifically? Are you the one that walks, or are you the? How does it? You're an officer, so that's
Yes.
a little different what you're doing.
As an officer, yes. On a more ordinary day, I could change the guard. I could conduct a a wreath laying ceremony or execute. On that day, I was overseeing a few different positions, a few different assignments. We had teammates from within the old guard assisting us in spreading the message, communicating with individuals, answering questions, ensuring that there was no confusion. The emotion of setting your first foot onto the plaza can be overwhelming. And it was important that we were there in uniform to be that face and to be that representation of the unknowns. So I was definitely very mobile for 2 days. I don't think I sat down or stopped moving. But I was able to interact with so many visitors during those 2 days, to quell fears, to quell anxiety, to answer questions, to answer the why, a lot of what we're talking about today, the why behind the what, and to tell a little bit of the story, to tell a little bit about the World War I unknown, why it's so important, why we have an unknown, how we followed the example of our allies from World War I who also laid unknown soldiers to rest, and why, for a century, we have created this tradition and how the tradition has grown, and why it'll continue to grow.
Yeah. It's fair to say this is a very powerful statement made by the American people for love of country, right? Love of veterans themselves. How does that affect your commitment to the mission?
It only intensifies what we do. The evenings leading up to the flower ceremony, there was certainly an enhanced level of seriousness and attention to detail being paid to maintaining and readying our uniforms, final rehearsals, conditions checks, all the roles that different tomb guards play. I did notice everyone stepped up. We work on a very interesting, very unique schedule to ensure the 24-hour continuity of the mission. And soldiers who were assigned to be off duty during the flower ceremony came into my office, came into the Sergeant of the Guard's office, and asked to volunteer to support the team that would be on duty during the flower ceremony, to forego sleep, to forego their own health, to be there in support, but also to be there to witness this once in a lifetime. And this was the highlight of all of our times spent as active duty tomb guards. And that was fantastic. The energy inside the operations facility was incredible, and I'm really proud of that team. It was a joint effort by a lot of different organizations, like I mentioned, But that team operates right there in the center of Arlington National Cemetery, guarding this tomb, which is a symbol of this entire National Capital Region and the country. And they stepped up to the plate. I've never been more proud of a group of soldiers and thankful for what they did to contribute to making that event successful.
I don't know what your career plans are, and you probably don't know either. Is it fair to say, when you look back on your career, when it's all said and done, this might be one of the top
Absolutely.
2 or 3 highlights, no matter what
Absolutely. There are a number of highlights for certain. Being able to be a part of this, being able to be a sentinel at the Tomb of the Unknown Soldier Centennial Commemoration was nothing short of incredible.
What do you think this statement that people are trying to make when they lay these flowers? What do you think? Is there a motivation behind it? Are they trying to make a statement that we're all in this together, unity, that kind of thing? What do you think?
Absolutely. When a visitor or participant lays a flower at the Tomb of the Unknown Soldier, they are putting their individualism aside, and they are adding to this collection of flowers, which ultimately became most likely one of the most beautiful images that will ever have been taken of the Tomb of the Unknown Soldier. Essentially, a wreath was created around the tomb, and every flower played a part in building that wreath. And I think when we take that individualism out and we support the greater whole, beautiful things will come. And then the final result will be spectacular. And that is something we can all take away from the flower ceremony.
What is your impression, your overall impression, now that you have some time to look back on at the flower ceremony?
It went better than we could have even imagined. We were certainly anticipating different pitfalls or different snags, but the cooperation of everyone who participated, the visitors, that was the icing on the cake. But the joint effort, the 17-ship flyover, the procession, senior government leadership being present, senior military leadership being present, and everyone humbling themselves before this unknown service member. A Medal of Honor recipient outranks everyone, regardless of rank or experience or branch. But this Medal of Honor recipient, the World War I unknown, truly is an American symbol, and has continued to serve 100 years after being laid to rest. And that's an image of service and sacrifice that we can all take away. When times get tough, when we feel like we can't give anymore, this service member continues to give, continues to serve this nation, even after giving his life in the Great War and then giving his identity. His family was not able to receive him and to lay him to rest and to have that closure. They gave their son so that we could have this eternal symbol. And that is definitely one of the biggest takeaways.
I think that's something that most people don't really consider, is that soldier that's laid there 100 years ago continues to serve and continues to inspire.
Yes.
All these years later.
Absolutely.
In closing, we do this so we can preserve this moment, preserve your thoughts, your memories, your experiences. Someone might watch this in years to come, 50 years, 100 years down the road. What message would you like to send that person about the ceremony, about Tomb Guards, about your service?
To see the experience and the mission of Tomb Guards to pay respects and to protect and to be there for individuals that we never met, but that we know it's the right thing to do. It is the right thing to be a good teammate, to be supportive, to be respectful of one another. Those are visible takeaways. Just to to see when you watch the changing of the guard, when you see the attention to detail and the care that goes into this mission from one individual to another, from the living to someone who has gone before us. That is how we need to treat each other. That's how we need to work together, and that's how we're going to move forward.
And this mission, it is an important mission, correct? I mean, it plays, there's a lot of important missions in the military, and this is right up there with all of them. It's not just something that, you know, it's important. And you got to witness that, why it's important.
Absolutely. Yeah, you see the importance every day with each visitor that comes in. You know, first it's a visiting school group, and you can see the impact in the way they ask questions, in the curiosity. But then you see the impact of a veteran organization, an honor flight, coming back, World War II and Vietnam veterans, many of whom are wheelchair bound, perhaps service-related injuries, to see them rise out of their wheelchairs during taps, that shows you the impact of this mission and why it's so important that we continue to guard the unknowns.
Is there anything that we haven't covered that you want to talk about or mention, or?
I think so. I think
you got it all. Okay.
Yes, sir.
Well, on behalf of the Americans of Wartime Experience, I thank you for sitting down and talking to us and sharing your experiences. It was a pleasure.
Absolutely. Thank you very much.
You're welcome.